So some companies, I know some testing firms that are strictly into user acceptance tests, where they employ lot of testers, freelancing testers, to test the application and give their own bias reports. Remember, that's unbiased is in quotes, right? Because of course we are all humans. There is no matter how straightforward our reports would be, there will still be an element of bias in it, because we are humans and we have emotions, right? Good. So user acceptance testing is done from the user point of view, right? You test the application to make sure that if I am a user, I am using the application as a user, or if someone else is using that application, what are the difficulties that I may face while using that application? Okay. So you will test from the user aspect of it to make sure that this application, so in user, now, when it comes to user acceptance testing, and they employ a lot of freelance manual testers to execute that test, definitely in all their reports, there may be one particular report that will be similar in all those reports. There may be one or two particular things that will be similar in all those reports, right? Those are the key reports that they are looking for, things that would affect lots of user. It might be the color, it might be fonts, it might be where a button is placed, and etc. But of course, while talking about manual testing and how useful it is, we mustn't forget the fact that it has a lot of limitations, right? It has a lot of limitations. It's time consuming. In the long run, it's more expensive. It is prone to human error. I might be testing and I'll be so tired that I will just rush the test and leave it that way. You, that is my supervisor or my colleague, will not know that I rushed the test because of you. You are not there with me, right? So it is still prone to human error and human bias. Okay. But of course, due to the fact that we can only test UI and UX via manually, manual software testing will still be relevant. But of course, we would always highlight the limitations. It still has limitations. But automated testing too has its own limitations, right? Of course, you write test scripts that would run, right? You have test scripts that would run. But those test scripts is testing the code against the requirements, okay? It doesn't have any emotion. It cannot do exploratory testing. It will only test what you ask it to test. It cannot test the UI and the US aspects, right? Then, in situation of where your code change, or there is a modification in your code, your script would not know that modification is there. It will still run against what it is giving it to it initially. And if that modification is there, the test will fail unless you come and make your modification. Okay? So they both have their limitations, but manual testing might seem to have more limitation because of course, it is manual testing and it's done by humans. Nancy, please.
Yes, I wanted to ask, based on this explanation that you've just done, yes, and then based on this training that we're receiving, do you think like the best jobs that we would go for after the training would have to be UAI testing?
You mean what do you mean by UI test? You mean UAT?
UAT, sorry, yeah, UAT testing.
Yes, of course. If you finish training as a manual software tester, and you are actually you definitely apply for jobs that require manual software as a manual software testing, your major job is UAT. That's your major job. Okay. If you are employed as a manual software tester in a firm or in a consulting firm, and attach you to a project, your major job there is UAT. As a matter of fact, manual software testing is equals to UAT. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Do we have more questions? Inyabon, I hope it's clear. Hello. Inyabon.
Yeah, we're okay. Yeah, we're okay. We're okay. Out to unmute.
All right. Okay. Okay, so goals of manual testing. So the main concept of manual testing is to ensure that the application is error-free and it is working to conformance to specified functional requirements and products. AB, AC. Please, guys, just give me a moment, please. Sorry.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. So the main concept of manual testing is to ensure that the application is error-free and it's working in conformance to the specified functional requirements and product mandates. ABAC. ABAC is just it has to do with multivariant testing where where you have different ways of actually testing an application or different version of testing an application. Okay. So test cases are designed during the testing phase and should have total coverage of the products. Right. So test case, which is what we are testing, should cover the total feature of functions of the application, right? It should cover the whole features. We should be able to actually document test cases for the whole features, and all the functions in the application should be able to be tested. It also makes sure that reported defects are fixed by developers and retesting has been performed by testers on the fixed defects. Majorly, manual testing checks the quality of testing and delivers bug-free products to the customer, right? So that's actually the main goal of manual testing, right? So it ensures that the application is error-free and it's working in conformance to whatever functional requirement that has been gathered, right? So we are testing strictly by the functional requirements that has been gathered, right? So while documenting your test case, you make sure that your test case has total coverage. It covers the total feature within a particular sprint that you might be testing, right? Or it covers or your test case would cover the different low-level requirements within a particular high-level requirement. So depends on what you are documenting for or how you are documenting your test case, right? Okay. So type of manual testing. Type of manual testing. In this case, I may not really treat this as type of manual testing as per se. I'll treat it as type of testing because you have this kind of testing both manually and automated. So some of them are done manually, type of software testing generally, right? And some are done automated. So we'll look into black box testing. We'll look into white box testing. We'll look into unit testing, system testing, integration testing, acceptance testing. Okay. So black box testing is a software testing method in which the functionalities of the software application are tested without having knowledge of internal code structure, implementation details, and internal parts. So black box testing mainly focuses on input and output of software application, and it is entirely based on software requirement and specification. It is also known as behavioral testing, right? So in this case, for black box testing, it's a method that actually look into testing the functionality of the application without actually having the knowledge of the internal code structure. Like you don't have knowledge of how the code was implemented in the back end, right? So your job is actually to just come test the application and record your results. That's what black box testing looks into. I'm going to give a good once I cover white box testing, I will give an analogy, a good analogy that would make us understand what black box and white box testing is. And we'll be able to pinpoint which of the testing, either manual or automated, which one is black box and which one is white box. All right. Then for the white box testing is a software testing technique in which the tester needs to have an idea of the internal structure, design, and coding of the software and tested to verify flow of input output and to improve the design, usability, and security. Okay, so in white box testing, code is visible to the testers. So it is also called clear box testing or open box testing, transparent box testing, code-based testing, and glass box testing. So it is one of the two parts of box testing approach to software testing. So a counterpart is the black box testing, which involves testing from an external or end user type of perspective, right? So on the other hand, white box testing is in software engineering is based on the internal workings and application and resolves around internal testing. Okay, so in white box testing would require you to have an internal knowledge of the structure of the code, design, how the code was implemented, right? And how you can test the code. Okay. Now, there is this the analogy that I like to actually use in this particular aspects for the white box and the black box testing is so let's use food testers and chef as an example, right? So we have people that actually does people that does food testing as an occupation, where their job is to actually test food and give review of that food, right? So they can actually test the food and give you review of the kind of ingredient they use and how you can make it better. Or if the food is good, they will tell you why it is good and maybe ways for you to improve, right? So food testers actually test the food without having an idea or knowledge of how that food was prepared. They don't know if you actually use firewood to prepare the food, or if you use gas, or if you use electric burner, right? They don't know if you use star seasoning or Maggi cube, or if you use Royco or no, right? They don't know if you use red oil or if you use palm this and or this and palm kernel or oil. All their job is to actually you present the food and they test it and know if the food feels good or not, right? Then we now have the chef. Okay, so the chef has the knowledge of how that food was prepared, right? From the ingredients that were used, how the ingredient was sourced. If you are preparing the food using firewood or gas or burner, if you are using Maggi, if you are using fresh vegetables and not dried vegetables, and etc. So the chef has a good knowledge of how that food was prepared from the beginning, right, to the ending. And if that means the chef has the internal knowledge and structure of the food. Okay. and the chef would be able to actually